Hey, happy hump day. This is Jared and Nate over at eCarrierCheck. I'm excited to be here. We're just chatting it up. You know, we're talking Q&A. We're going to talk about our software, show you a little bit more of our software, and how we can help you with that. I'm excited to break down a couple of questions that we've gotten so far this week. It's been a very lively crew. So if you're on and want to ask some questions, I'm sure here to help. Nate's here to help. Brian, what's up, brother? Where are you at? Tell us where you're at. I always like to hear where you're at. I hope everything's going well this week. So good to see you. So Nate, kick us off, man. Obviously we're a couple days in. We've had some interesting conversations. We just had an interesting conversation with bulk loads and seeing if we can integrate with them. We're still working on that. We'll see. But if you're with a provider that you think we should be integrated with, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Reach out to us.
Push them. We'd love to help.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
but yeah, halfway through the week, I already got like 6 questions on here just from users calling in, and some of them aren't even users. They're just curious on how eCarrierCheck can just help them. But first off, we did push the data today. So for those of you who are using the site, go check out some newer carriers, maybe in the lane function or lane search, or maybe in that location. So new data out. But we also have some questions on freight flops. So I had a potential user yesterday was wondering, she's the carrier. Great question was, can I encourage freight brokers to leave a review on my trucking company inside eCarrierCheck? And the question is yes.
What a great question. Honestly, something that I was excited about when we just rolled out this update, and we have several more updates coming here very quickly, to be honest with you. But as we rolled out this last update that we have, the community is why we're here.
Right.
At the end of the day, we want to help people. We want to help people build relationships. And because of that, we want our community to build up, a little bit of the connections, the communications that we have internally. So today we're going to show you some of those freight flops, those kudos, and even our social media side, which I think is kind of fun. It really hasn't fully taken off yet, but very entertaining. And it's just, what's going on, Ryan? Tire killers in Arkansas. I wonder if, Brian, do you ever stop in like kind of smell the roses, or you just got your foot down and pedaling? There's a diamond mine out in Arkansas. I'd love to go out and just dig around and see if I can find some. It'd be kind of fun. I don't know if you stop and smell the roses very often, Brian, but love to hear that. But Nate, walk us through this, because you don't. What in the heck? You got to stop there next time and friggin' go get a diamond or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, when we're talking about self-branding and freight flops and kudos, that all plays a factor into that self-branding for any company. So part of that freight flops or that kudos, I was telling her, you could encourage people to leave that on you. So what's helpful with that, I think, is when other brokers are on the site on eCarrierCheck, they will actually have that ability to see, oh, this so-and-so carrier did a great job. That helps. That really does go a long ways.
I think so too.
For those of you that are new here, let me show you a quick example of what these freight flops and kudos are looking like.
And a couple things real quick. Obviously, Nate is just looking for general carriers. He's going to Houston, reefers. You're right here. If you guys wanted to, you could literally just type in the MCDOT at the top there, and it'll just pull up, right? It'll pull up, your carrier that you're talking about, right? So not to interrupt you there, but I at least wanted to give you the understanding of, there's some situational things that happen that it's important to, you're on the phone. How are you using eCarrierCheck on a day-to-day basis? Let's look up their MC.
Right. Yeah. And for those of you who are new here, don't be afraid to ask some questions on how we're using that on the site as well. Carter.
Yeah, so we're still in it's called Creator Diamond. We're still in this diamond kick. I'm telling you, it's the craziest thing ever. You got to stop there sometime, Brian. I know you're always got your foot down and you got a load to get delivered, but stop and smell the roses and everything.
Yep. So
keep going.
As we're just in this, we're in this carrier profile. We'll take a break from the diamonds, but here's your kudos and freight flops here. You can see how you can easily start adding these, right? Kudos for great, freight flops for.
Just push the button and see what happens here.
Yep. You'll see how we can. How would you like to commend that company? So we give you a few choices, and then this is live, so I wouldn't do it. But you see how you have all these options.
Pickup hours. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So and then when they push that, where does that go?
It'll go onto our main dashboard as well. For kudos. And then you can also see that within the carrier profile. You'll see how this will all turn green and let you know, oh, hey, there's a kudos left on that carrier.
I love that.
Right. It'll
I
show
love that.
one there.
So all community driven. This isn't just your own user data. This is,
right.
you know, we're starting to allow people to put in information that they see
Right.
from the ground floor, from the
Exactly.
road.
Yeah. And this is part of that self-branding that, you know, that's another question we had this week was how can I get myself out there? Well, you know, I understand that we're, you know, in the world of social media, you know, all this tech,
man, everything.
Get on LinkedIn, get on Facebook, get on the groups in there, post a load, you know, maybe you move the load, you know, if you're a carrier, post that load on there and explain how, you know, fun it was, or maybe you love hauling that commodity, and then connect with shippers or connect with freight brokers.
I
right?
love that.
So
I love that. So walk us through some freight flops.
Okay.
You know, there's obviously challenges out there, right? We've all dealt with some idiots.
Right.
There's not another word of saying it. They don't know how to communicate. They can't friggin' communicate.
Right.
Well, walk us through this real quick. What's a freight flop here?
So a freight flop essentially is, let's say a carrier falls off on a load last minute, didn't give you a heads up. I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a good reason. I get it.
Yeah.
Or maybe a carrier, you know, decided to give the shipper some heck or some grief.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe the shipper gives you some reliable information and you can come on here, didn't treat the shipper right, whatever that may be, or maybe the shipper's customer.
Yeah.
So those are all very important things to be looking into. You know, maybe their safety scores, or maybe they failed to, you know, meet the need of the broker.
The other side of this too, for Brian or for any of the carriers watching, you can go in and do this exact same thing for our brokers.
Right.
Exactly. So if you go in and look up our brokers and do that exact same thing that we just did, you can go in and leave those, because there's, you know, let's be honest, there's some challenging brokers out there too, right? That may be challenged with communication or, you know, little things. Maybe they don't pay, you know, right? You should be running credit on these things, but.
So that leads me to my next thing here. What's up, Numbnuts? What's up, Shaggy?
There's Shaggy. What's up, brother? How are you?
So let's say a carrier, for example, a tire killer, maybe didn't have a very good maybe relationship with the broker, and a broker let the review on tire killer. Well, tire killer will actually have that ability to get an email and say, hey, so-and-so left a freight flop on you. Let's hear your side of the story. So we also care about our carriers and want to hear their side.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, relationships are such an interesting aspect, and you just have to be respectful. So we have some things in place to make sure that we're being respectful. Shaggy, we appreciate that you use this all the time.
Thank you, man. Love
you know, it's definitely one of those things. As an independent dispatcher, straight out of the gate, what would be the best to find carriers that allow me to book their loads? You know, what an interesting question.
Yeah.
You know, I love this. Let's be honest. Being a dispatcher can be super challenging.
Oh, okay.
Right? You're going to make hundreds, if not thousands, of phone calls. I really don't see emails working unless you're being extremely creative. You know, there's always three sides to every story. Yeah. That's right. I appreciate that. But you know, what would be the best way to find carriers that allow me to book their loads? Here's what I would do personally.
I'll follow up after this.
Yeah. If I was going to start as a dispatcher today, right? Today I start as a dispatcher. What I would start doing is I would get on our system and I would start to make calls to carriers that are maybe either right out of the gate, that could be a little light on information and education, right? And we show those people, right? Or I would start to call people that are maybe 4 months in, to be honest with you. And this is how I would lead in,
right? Because
if you're a dispatcher, the number one thing is to differentiate yourself, and you need to start building relationships with brokers, right? Because if you're just going to go out and get them loads off load boards, they could do that themselves, right? So you need to start building those relationships with brokers. We have an incredible, oh my gosh, you should show them. We have an incredible database of brokers. It's starting to get even deeper. In fact, in the next couple of weeks, you'll see this kind of pop even more. And you need to start finding loads that may be on load boards, right?
And in addition to, like,
bring it home.
If you're straight out of the gate as a dispatcher, you know, whether you're experienced or not, you know, what's nice with our system, let's help you find brokers in those areas to find or match up to that carrier a little bit better. And you'll see how these are our brokers now, and we can find you what they specialize in. So it's kind of cool. how you can really differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
Make yourself different from other dispatchers. We're big believers in picking up the phone. Maybe sending a text.
You
But,
got it. Yeah, you could say text is not bad.
Yeah.
And I would lead it into a question on the text. Hey, are you tired of finding loads on load boards? You know what I mean? That's how you're going to differentiate yourself.
Right.
Is this easy to do? I didn't catch the user that asked this question, Vaughn. Is this easy to do? Absolutely not. No. You're going to have your work cut out for you. Yeah. But eCarrierCheck will give you the tools to not only start to organize yourself, right? You can not only organize yourself, you can use our platform for emailing. So many people get so many robot emails a day. I don't know if it's effective as much anymore. Right. But you can use our database to set the CRM reminders so that hey, call me next week, I'm on the road. So there's another benefit. And then we help you find brokers too. It's all on one platform, all right here. Right. And it allows you to kind of build your own little kind of economical aspect right in our platform. So.
And honestly, what I would do if I was coming straight out the gate too as a dispatcher would be, I know my own town the best.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to see how many freight brokers are in my town. What are they looking for? Yeah. And let's see if I can find some carriers that either are local or maybe that come through my town. And let's call them up and see, hey, how do you get out of, Nebraska? Or, what do you do out in Nebraska, right? Let's try to figure out a way we can help them.
I can't disagree more with that. That's such a wonderful friggin' strategy, Nate. To agree more. I'm sorry. I can't agree more. Disagree. Well, son of a bitch, I'm disagreeing with that. No, I can't agree more with that strategy. I think it's really important that I'm not sure where you're from, Vaughn. Am I saying his name right?
I think so.
I think so. But it's one of those things where I would definitely start local. We are challenged. We live in the middle of nowhere. Right. I mean, literally nowhere. There's a farm 14 steps that way. Right. Something to kick around. Can you write off the cost of your TMS and eCarrierCheck on your taxes? Mike, what an interesting question. I suppose it would be considered a business expense.
Yes.
Right. Now, I'm not an accountant. We've had Jay on, one of Shaggy's buddies. This guy's insane. I love Jay. It was literally, this is how much people love accounting. Shout out to Jay. I love you. It was the worst watched show we've ever had. Nobody cares about accounting. We had him on. He's very entertaining. And literally, I think we had 3 users watch. Yeah. What do you do? Yeah. But wonderful question. Yeah. I mean, it's a business expense. Why not? Yeah. But if you ever have tax questions, we recommend you talking to Jay. He's an incredible guy. Yep. I don't know if Shaggy's still watching. I can't remember where Jay works, but you might throw it in the comments for the users. He's definitely used to carriers as well as brokers and whatnot. So what a great question. So I'm trying to see, is this there we go. What was another question as far as, the CRM thing is probably one of the more entertaining things, but maybe just walk us through the task functionality.
Okay. Yeah, and I do got one question.
Oh, here. Patriot Group. There we go.
Patriot Group.
Thank you, Shaggy. I appreciate that. Patriot Group, credible. Ask for Jay. Tell him that Shaggy sent you over there. So really good deal.
So let's talk about the task. So essentially what we do, obviously you can put carriers onto lists. You can do the same with brokers. And you can also make tasks for carriers and brokers. And you'll see these little bells. And this will give you that ability to just keep yourself organized. And I love it because I'm forgetful and I hate writing things down. Mm-hmm. Jared likes to write things down.
I do. Okay. I'm a list.
He'll send himself a text, a scheduled text. It's insane. But this will give you that ability to say, okay, Alfred's out of town till next week. Call him back, right? Leave that reminder for you. And you can do the same thing with shippers too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It'd be interesting to know of our community is how long can you keep your focus? Right? How present can you be without picking this up? Right. I think I've checked this 3 times since we've been on this live. Right. I mean, good gracious, we've only been on for 15 minutes here. You know what I mean? Yeah. So how long can you keep your focus? And the other thing is you can't keep it up here. Yeah. So we developed this for me because of my inefficiencies. The bell is on every line, on brokers, on carriers, on shippers. The shipper part is a little bit deeper, right? But you can also access it over here to the right and just open up your tasks, create tasks. Now, it is a benefit to do it on the carrier because, our programming staff is incredible. Go back over it real quick. You just get out of there and just go to this. So we pull all this information up for you and say, hey, break bulk transport, here's your phone number, here's the email. We do that when you do it there. Now, when you pull it up over here, you can just set a task, no different, and just push plus. So you see how it's empty, right? Yeah. So when you do it on a carrier, a broker, a shipper, we're going to pull that information over here. What a great value add by our programmers. Thank you for that, guys. I appreciate that level.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's highly important too. So before we go to the CRM functionalities, I do have a question for Jared.
Mike, you can write off your dog food as security on a truck.
I forget about the tire killer. That's awesome. But Jared, I got a question. I had a really good question. Trevor asked me the other day, how many relationships let's talk dispatchers first. How many relationships should a dispatcher have? How many brokers should they have, or how many carriers should they have? Tell us a little bit more how new dispatchers should be looking into. What should they be looking forward to?
Sure.
How does that work?
What a great question. This would be, in my opinion, based upon some of the carriers that you have. Okay. Shaggy always talks about his bow tie. Mm-hmm. I've always seen, when I was working for an asset-based carrier, we did kind of triangles. And what we're meaning by that, and Shaggy should honestly be on, and we do a friggin' maths class because it's one of the most entertaining classes I've ever taken.
Yep, we're gonna have him on this sometimes.
But not only entertaining, but it's also educational in the fact that carriers should run in the areas that they're most comfortable with, and that they have exhausted their relationships. Right. So to answer your question, they should really focus on building relationships in those areas that make the most sense for that driver. Okay. Right. If you're from the Southeast and you love to go to Ohio and you love to go to Indiana or Chicago because you've got relationships up in there, I do it when I come on. Oh, absolutely. That would be awesome, Shaggy, because it's so educational. It's one of the best classes I've ever taken, to be honest with you. Okay. But it's one of those things that you've got to have what I would consider 3 to 5 direct broker relationships in that area. Okay. That's all it takes. It's only 3 to 5. If you get to 10, you're a rock star. Yeah. But I know, as coming from an asset-based carrier, our truckload dispatcher, who was a rock star, he had broker relationships in those towns. He had direct shipper relationships in those towns. And then he would go to the load boards for, oh shit, what do I do now? Right. And so it's one of those things where you've got to make sure that you're building relationships all the time. Right. It's good. 25 plus slacker. I know. Right. I know. But if you can have solid relationships in each of those towns, as a dispatcher, though, if you're just getting started, start to call local brokers, start to call within areas that freight is moving. Right. I would probably not, try to build relationships with brokers in Nebraska. Yeah, maybe Omaha, right? Yeah, Omaha. Or maybe, but I wouldn't do it in the middle of North Dakota, right? Yes. Start to build those relationships up and start to see their freight and feel their freight and get their freight. That's something I think that's really why we built this. Is we wanted, whether you're a broker, a dispatcher, a carrier, or even a shipper, honestly, we just want to be able to help you find the right people that can make your relationship go.
Right. Definitely. Right. Definitely. And one thing that's always stuck with me too, that Jared's always mentioned, like you may just be 10% off of what you're doing. And what that means is, like, maybe we try something different, right? Maybe maybe you focus on a specific region. And if that region doesn't seem to be working out for you, maybe let's try a different region. Yeah. Or, if you're calling carriers at 9 a.m., well, maybe we call them a little bit later in the afternoon.
Absolutely.
So little things like that. Everyone's focused on the miles.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And that's so funny you say that. When, Tire Killer saying, hey, everyone's focused on the miles. As a carrier, they're like, hey, I got to get this many miles in to make this much money, because that's how they equate it.
And if a dispatcher can find that for that carrier, call those brokers, build those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. So, absolutely.
But yeah, I wanted to jump into these CRMs really quick, unless you had something.
Well, real quick, just to add on to that, and then we can jump into this. If I'm a dispatcher that has found, I'll give you an example. Our system runs a lane search. Can you just run a lane search real quick? Run any lane search, doesn't matter what it is. I don't care. Just because I think that this is how deep it is, right? Let's say that I'm a dispatcher, okay, and I start building relationships with carriers, and I have found a consistent lane. If I call Sire Killer Brian and say, Brian, here's what I've got. It's 4 to 5 a week. Here's the guaranteed money. They're going to have a few weeks off in the summer, but for the most part, everything kind of goes constantly, right?
Okay.
If you pulled up a lane search and you found that broker that has this, and your dispatcher found this, hey, here's the lane I'm struggling with. I need a carrier that can do this. Now sort it by owner operator. Man, I tell you what. Now there's some people in here. Our risk radar, by the way, is insane. Look at this guy at the top.
Yep.
What a disaster, to be honest with you. He's a high risk. He's got 227 inspections with 1 power unit, 13 matches. Absolute train wreck, right?
Yes.
But what I would do, you see this guy right here? He's, you see this guy right here? I would call these guys and say, hey, I see you're from Baytown. I see you're from Meadows Place, Texas. I see that you run to Denver. What I'd like to do is see if you would be interested in this Denver back to Houston that I just found that we could run 3 times a week.
That's awesome. I love that.
You see where I'm going with that? Boy, there's some value right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Because now you're getting really deep with your prospecting, right? This is deep. This is what it's all about.
Right.
If you're a dispatcher, you've got to add value to their lives, or there's no point of signing up with a dispatcher.
Right. Now this will take on your end to pick up the phone and call.
Oh yeah. It's needle and haystack.
I've been privileged enough to watch or hear these brokers that are actually local and watch them and hear them make calls. And are they going to get the guy on the first call? Maybe, maybe not. But no, they're pick up the phone, let them know what they got. Can't do it. Let's move on. So,
we sorted this by owner operator. So it's one. There's 6 pages. There's 25 carriers per page. Yep. If I do my math right, hey, we're, 150 in, right?
Yeah.
We're 150 in. So there's a lot of phone calls. Could you strike out? Sure. Not every lane's going to be perfect.
Right.
But at least we give you, the needle just went from the haystack to maybe just, a 10-foot pad that you need to dig through that part instead of this field. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I go on rants sometimes.
No,
but I've definitely, keep moving on. But at least I wanted to understand dispatchers from a value standpoint. They got to be high value, quality partners.
Right, for sure. Right. And what's beautiful too, for those of you who are new, you can, make phone calls from our site. You can see I can use my click to dial to do that. Or, how about we do both? Both the best worlds is emailing and calling them. I do see a couple of brokers that, send out blast emails, let them know what they got.
Yeah.
Honestly, you'd be surprised at how many carriers will hit them back up.
Yeah.
But definitely make that phone call. So, one thing I did want to add too was the CRM functions on our shippers. For those of you that are new and are not, but we want to make sure that we can help you stay organized when you're calling your shippers.
Yeah.
So you'll see how every shipper has a ribbon, like so, and you'll have the ability to mark them as a current customer, cold lead. The ability to leave notes on them as well. So it's very important to leave those notes. What was that last conversation like?
Yeah. That right. You definitely can't, if you're grinding all day calling shippers, I talked to these 2 brokers yesterday, really aggressive guys, just started. They're in the 6 months in.
Right.
And, these guys are calling 30 to 50 people a day. Right. And they're just grinding. Yeah. Right. And, they even said hey, I need a place to be able to just quickly say, this is a cold lead. I'm not going to work it anymore. So I need to mark that as a cold lead. That's why we have it. They're not going to work those counts. But here's a to-do list. I called this guy yesterday, Desert Spring Produce, and I need to keep sort of grinding. And then what we do, go back real quick so people can see what that was at. You have the ability to come in and just put in the notes and the lists. And then you can sort it by to-dos or cold lead or pass, whatever you want to call it, current customers. And then this way you can see, those are my notes. Here's who I talked. I always recommend putting in the phone number right here in the notes, because then when you're working it, you don't have to re-look up that phone number. Vaughn, does that work the same way for carriers? We don't have a CRM built into the carriers other than that task functionality.
Right.
that might be, and then from there you could also just use the task functions and then just build them into a list. You may find that, hey, I need to put this guy onto do not call list. I already called him and it's not going to work out, right? So you can make your lists, create a list real quick just so he can see it. You can do it right there. Just push, let's show you, and you can see you can create a list right there and just say, this guy's not going to work, and then put your favorite color in there, and just do the same functionality. So it's sort of the same function there, Vaughn, to give you that quick understanding. So,
and what I was going to show you too over there was you can leave notes here inside the carrier profile and save it, and then that'll save for us. And then as you start running searches and maybe throw them on a list, your notes will pop up on this carrier row and just hover over.
Yeah. The other thing I do believe in is, success leaves clues, right? It really, historically speaking, things kind of reoccur over and over, right?
Yeah.
So if you had luck with one guy, let's say that Loop Trucking is a guy you just called and you had a really decent conversation with him, don't overlook that clue. And what I mean by that is, why don't we try to call similar people? And these 3 buttons, literally, we can help you find similar carriers or find similar shippers. And honestly, if I can call more people like the one I just called, we have a button for that. And it literally will just pop up 10 pages. There's 100, or 250 carriers that you can call. And look, they're the same size. They're out of the same area. Definitely well worth your time to hit that button. It's probably one of the more underutilized buttons out there. And I'll give you another example of why you'd be using that button. I always had kind of these repeat lanes as a freight broker, right? And I would pretty much just always give it to the same guy over and over, right? I just wanted to build that relationship. I love the guy. But every now and then, guess what? Brian needs a vacation, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he needs to stop at the diamond mine that's only 2 hours away. So, God, you're only 2 hours away, Brian. What the hell? But, every now and then you got to find another carrier to replace them. And why go to the load boards when you can maybe find another Brian to build a relationship with? Same thing. Right?
Yeah, for sure. The word relationship is
constant. It's in this industry. Exactly. Honestly, I wouldn't be in this spot without the relationships that I am in my life.
I love to hear that. Yeah.
And maybe that's with you. Maybe that's with my wife. Maybe that's with the programming team. There's so many people that have impacted my life, and if I'm not willing to build those relationships, I'm a hot potato.
100%, man. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. So, are there any questions out there? We've been here for about 30 minutes. I appreciate everyone being here today on this fine Wednesday. We'll be back Friday. Might do some live calls. We might have a guest. We'll be surprised.
Yeah, we'll see where that's at. Obviously, a quick shout out. If you don't mind. We grow organically. Obviously, we're a startup bootstrap team. So any reviews on Google always helps. Or even the comments on YouTube are always huge. So we appreciate that. Our subscribership, I got to give this up as a milestone. We hit 3,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, honestly,
you guys
we
are
love
awesome.
our community. We love the comments and how engaged everybody is and the questions that we get. We constantly get questions. So keep them coming. Outside of that, Nate, I think today was a great show. It's good to hear people. And if we can help with anything, guys, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Support at eCarrierCheck.com. We're always here. We can obviously send you guys a demo, or if you just need to get on the phone with Nate and I, we can try to coordinate that in our schedule too, which gets a little hectic, but we're definitely here.
Yep, and we're fun to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick before we leave, obviously the Nuggets, I'm in my Colorado jersey, although this is soccer. Nuggets play tonight versus the Heat. They're in Miami. Who are you taking?
Oh, man. Justin would kill me if I said the Heat, so let's go, gotta go Nuggets.
You're going to take Nuggets in game 3. I love it. I love it. Guys, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Friday morning. And thanks for the questions.